Okay, here we go. Hey, everybody, and welcome to crossover episode number 3, a mashup between Peach Mag and In the Mood. My name is Rochelle Tormino, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Peach Mag, joined tonight by my co-hosts for the night, the incredible In the Mood team, Gabrielle Marceau, Sana Yi, and Kay Evan Stocks. Thanks so much for tuning into this third event in our new reading series, crossover episodes. For those of you new to Peach or this series, essentially now that some of our events are transitioning back to in-person programming, we wanted to make sure that we still offered some virtual happenings. Crossover episodes are a mashup style collaboration with fellow journals, small presses, literary orgs, and other collectives in the independent publishing community. Special thanks goes out to Arts Services, Inc. and the New York State Council on the Arts for the generous funding to support the production of our first 4 crossover episodes, as well as to Just Buffalo Literary Center for partnering with us on the back end to make this series happen. Keep an eye out for news on our final crossover episode of the year, which we'll be announcing in November. Back to tonight. We're getting spooky. We're very happy to be partnering with In the Mood. I'm a huge fan of this journal. For those of you hearing about them for the first time, which is unlikely, I'm sure, In the Mood is a digital pop culture journal about the things we like to watch. It began as a film recommendation generator that helps users figure out what movie or TV show they're in the mood for. So sort of getting rid of that endless browsing of all the different platforms and etc. It's so fun and great. And then they launched a partnering or a companion literary journal that has different issues that it covers stuff like movies, television series, music, pop stars, you name it, and covered in poems, comics, short memoirs, and so much more. And perhaps most importantly, they center the personal in their approach to cultural criticism. Everything that they publish has the spirit of friend to friend, you've got to see this. So yeah, I'm a really huge fan. Tonight we have 6 amazing performers who have all contributed to In the Mood's latest issue, the horror issue. To introduce them and say more about In the Mood, I'll be passing the mic shortly to my co-hosts. But before I do, a couple house rules. Those of you who are joining, if this isn't your first time, this is all, the same stuff. Please keep yourself muted. If your audio is on, you'll get muted. That being said, you're welcome to turn your video either on or off, but as a heads up, tonight's reading will be recorded and shared on YouTube. If you see something weird going on in someone's video that you think we're missing and should be aware of, please just DM us. And tonight will be broken up into 2 sets of 3 readers with a break in the middle, about half-an-hour sets. The break will include some trivia, some horror movie trivia, and there will be a prize for the winner. Participation is optional, but obviously we encourage you to participate. And we'll shame you if you don't. Just kidding. I will, Sana won't. And finally, we also encourage you to make use of the chat, light it up, say hello to each other, celebrate the readers, hang out, but we reserve the right to bounce you if we find anything that you say weird or mean-spirited. Let's keep the vibe good for the readings and save any trash talk for the discourse we're probably all escaping that's been going on Twitter. And now I'm happy to introduce my co-host for this evening, the In the Mood team. Gabrielle Marceau is a writer, film critic, and editor based in Toronto. Her work has appeared in CinemaScope, Sight and Sound, Reverse Shot, and Lest magazine. She's the editor-in-chief of In the Mood magazine. Sana Yi writes poetry, prose, and film criticism. She's the author of the poetry collection, How Do I Look?, out with Metatron, and the children's book, My Day with Gong Gong, out with Anik Press. She is the managing editor of In the Mood magazine and one of the poetry editors at Peach Mag. Oh yeah. Kay Evan Stocks is a creative director or creative developer and graphic designer based in Toronto. She's a graduate of Juneau College of Technology's Web Development Bootcamp and has a BA in Media Communications from the University of Guelph Humber. She is the creative director of In the Mood magazine. And now I am very, very happy to pass the mic over to one of my co-hosts, Gabrielle. Welcome, Gabrielle.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. It's really wild to see like actual people involved in this journal, because it's been just words and emails so far. So this is really warming my heart. As Rochelle said, In the Mood magazine is, as our tagline goes, a journal about the things we like to watch. So we cover any image that moves. It could be film, reality TV, YouTube videos, celebrity culture, and all with an emphasis on when, how, and why we watch. But as some of you may know, In the Mood didn't start out as a journal. It started out as a question. And the question is, what are you in the mood to watch tonight? And Senna, I'm going to ask you what you're in the mood to watch tonight. How are you feeling, Senna?
I'm feeling pretty happy tonight.
Oh, happy. That's good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Anything here speaking to you? You feeling glamorous? You feeling gluttonous?
Ooh, I'm feeling pretty powerful.
Powerful. Okay. Well, if you're feeling powerful, Sana recommends Princess Mononoke. And here we have Sanawani's epic poem inspired by the film. But I've got to say, Sana, I'm not feeling so happy today.
How are you feeling, Gabrielle?
I'm feeling pretty sad, actually.
Sorry to hear. Do any of these moods speak to you?
I don't think any of these are quite right.
Let's try some more.
Oh, somber. I'm feeling pretty somber. It's Halloween-y. So if you're feeling somber, Brad recommends Les Amants Réguliers. So this is our recommendation generator that we started, and this is how the journal began. But it grew into a triannual literary journal where we talk about film and TV, and where we try to expand how we think of film criticism. And film criticism can look like poetry, it can look like fan fiction, conversation, personal essays, travel diaries, and you name it. And our latest issue is all about horror. And I'll give you just a little glimpse into our latest issue, our incredible cover by Kay, who's here today. So in the issue, we've got some amazing pieces. We have travel diary where Lucy Talbot Allen visits shooting locations of famous horror films in Northern California. We've also got an incredible piece by Alison Lang on terrifying smiles from horror films, which is really amazing. And of course, if you're familiar with In the Mood, you know we have our own version of capsule reviews, these short little film diaries. And we have our regular columnists, including the incredible E.J. Kneifel, who's been with us from the beginning, or In the Mood, and who will be reading their piece on Karen Kusama's zeitgeist-baiting film, Jennifer's Body. So I'm thrilled to introduce EJ. EJ Kneifel, friend of a friend, Rev's editor at The Puritan, co-creator of P8's Oranging, Catch. EJ's chapbook is Violets is Coming. Take it away, EJ.
Yay! Hi, everyone. All I can ever say about In the Mood is that it's good to be here. It's been so fun to get to write alongside these wonderful writers and editors. So thanks for being here. And basically I love Halloween, but I'm not spooky. I don't like horror films. So I thought that I might have to sit this issue out. But then I realized that I am afraid all the time. And so I decided to write this installment of my column on just like various pieces of media that I was like pinballing between and feeling very afraid. And also maybe a little bit about the uncanny valley of owls' faces and just the way that they move. Whoa, so much. Okay. Laurence, anyways, I had to climb into life again.
The horror of purported realism is seeing the same word mean something different. Laurence, Laurence, her chest, her chest. During intermission at the outdoor theater show, I told her that the narrativized inevitability of cis heterosexuality makes me want to die. At the top of the second act, he flicked out a white sheet. He covered her body with his chest. I had to look up at the fireflies. I had to change tabs. Laptop too hot on my chest. I was running. The green, it was dark. My fear had an object. Dark green of Jennifer's body, which is a ridiculous movie, but I used to honk for night deer on the highway. How to imagine yourself in an image wherein you do not exist. How to remember full bigness when what is there is cropped at the shoulder. White sheet dulling of shorthand. To be inside desire means that there is a threshold which can be met or not met. Cheap jump scare, the brake lights. I jumped. Shadow long. Tired legs loose at the roots. Laptop too hot on my chest. I looked up. The fireflies were mosquitoes passing through spotlights, a threshold which could be met. I repeated the names for love, a whole building humming, pink light of a greenhouse, running. I was running. The green wasn't dark yet. A whole block waved me down to show me an owl, ancient face turning, pink green bristle, wing of the world of a chest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, EJ. Oh, it's just so special to hear you read aloud. And yeah, check out the rest of EJ's eye candy column in our previous issues and this current one. Yeah, such a fan of your work. Thanks so much. Up next, very excited to introduce Fan Wu, who will be leading us through an erotic horror Mad Libs game situation. So in perfect Mad Libs fashion, I'm going to read his bio, which is in appropriately formatted as a Mad Lib. So I'll be doing the little like square brackets. You'll see what I mean. Fan Wu is an adjective artist in an adverb moving world. His practice blends the outer reaches of collective participation with theorists' theory of concept. You can read his writing online at Mice Magazine, in the Mood Magazine, and your favorite digital publication. Take it away, Fan.
Oh, thank you. Great. That was a little skit. All right. So thank you so much to In the Mood. Love the magazine. It's so nice to be able to write poetry as a form of criticism. My favorite thing. I'm just going to link the Sound of Metal Mad Libs that today's reading is based on, which that poem was based on Sound of Metal, and that one gets really deep into what's inside the brackets. So if you want to try a Mad Libs at home, check out issue 2, Sound of Metal Mad Libs. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to give a part of speech, and you're going to all have 15 to 20 seconds per part of speech. And don't think, the less you think, the better. You know, just let your intuition fire off a word. And Gabrielle, Senna, and Rochelle are going to be the selectors. They're going to select a word from the chat. So yeah, get your claws on that chat function. And this poem that I extract the Mad Libs from is an erotic horror poem, because there's nothing scarier than sexual relations with another, that I wrote a few years ago for File magazine. So kind of repurposing, resurrecting an old poem for new purposes. All right, does anyone have questions about the Mad Libs process? You'll pick it up as we go along. So our first part of speech is verb. Put a verb in the chat. Let's see some verbs appearing. It can be crazy. Crazy can be made up verbs. Can be, yeah. And then whenever our selectors have
That is choosing. You're choosing. You're making 2 Libras. Oh, maybe Gabrielle, you can help. Chew.
Chew. Great. Thank you. Okay. Now, noun. Put some nouns into the chat. And this time we'll pick two nouns.
Ooh. I'm liking cave, that first one. Cave.
Cave.
Let's go with hole too.
Ooh, okay. Yummy. Okay, let's pause on the nouns. Now we're gonna pick an emotion. Please spam chat with some emotions. Maybe some that you've just invented. Maybe some that have existed since time immemorial. Let's get some emotions. I love dict as an emotion.
I know. I think we have to do that one. Ooh. Effervescent. Is that an emotion?
What's the final answer?
Okay, let's do dict. And what's the other one?
That's perfect for our next one, which is body part. So I'm gonna need 4 body parts, and they can be human body parts. They can be non-human. Whatever, you know. What a body is very open to interpretation. 4 body parts.
I like hangnail.
Hangnail. Okay.
I can't wait for the recording version of this that doesn't have the chat.
It's probably it's gonna sound psychotic.
I like claw. Sorry if I'm taking over. I was really vibing with these.
Cankle.
Cankle.
And wait, one more? Rochelle, did you
One
want
more,
to?
yeah.
Let's go placenta. Fuck it.
Yeah, from K.
Wow. Okay, we've got hangnail, claw, placenta, cankle. And now I need 3 adjectives. 3 adjectives, yeah. Oh, we've got some of Snow White's 7 dwarves in there so far.
Okay, definitely slayful.
Muting immediately.
Cason, you wouldn't.
I like two-pronged.
2-pronged.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like wretched too.
Wretched? Okay, that's 3, perfect. Okay, now I need 2 animals. The names of 2 animals can be proper noun animals, like Bugs Bunny, or common noun animals, like capybara.
King Kong. King Kong.
What did you say?
King Kong.
King Kong, okay.
Oh my God, Mom. Okay, no, I'm gonna stop.
I like skink.
Skink. Yes, that word is so erotic horror already. Okay, we've got our animals. Okay, just a couple more. I need a 1 food item. Again, you know, what you consider food, that's not up to me to judge.
I'm just hungry now.
Sorry. It's
Rochelle,
dinner
Rochelle,
time.
Rochelle, were you gonna choose one? I don't want to speak over. I've chosen too many. I'll stop.
I was gonna go with lava cake, so I'm glad that Kay's on board with that.
Let's do it.
Lava cake. Okay, for 3 more tiny categories. 1 is another word for penis. Another word for penis. A euphemism or something you just made up right now. Another word for penis.
Bing bong.
Bing bong or just bong?
Bing bong. Yeah, we can do bing bong.
Bing bong. Okay.
Although
Okay.
the wet one is pretty good.
I'll use that for something else. I'll use the wet one for something else. And then the last thing we have to do is a color. This is our last category. Jessamy. So beautiful, Jessamy.
Let's go periwinkle.
Periwinkle. Doubles as a euphemism in a pinch. Okay. Thank you all. Okay, I'm gonna post this whole thing in sections as I read it. So this is our remixed poem. The boy was a knot of body impatient, fiddling with a string of orgone cream from the corner of his light mouth. The lip of his groin where pant-meat thigh rubbed raw from sweat and summer cotton. All of him chews in a coil of lust, less cave than whole. A man-ancient mildew encrusted itself round the vision of what he sought. His body was bare like Dict never touched it. Dew of a clenched appetite, each hangnail wanting to be fucked in turn. Like under his skin, you could see the slayful nerves crawling. No jelly on his flesh, yet his hot mind flanged at its hinge. His claw the only bit of fat for quivering. Bored stiff, vacant with boredom, the boy thrust out into the night, a two-pronged King Kong offered to the wet one. Man puts his sack down boy's throat so deep that the lungs pick up their scent. A wretched musk crossed with lava cake eaten that morning. Boy feel like a cloth of skink hung from tenterhooks as gleaming bing bong turns boy's body into a writhing slit. Suck it for 1,000 moments. Crush his body like a fist in the thick, dank corner. The two come in unison. Boy takes a violent breath in. Flicker of cum drips from placenta to cankle, fade to periwinkle. That was so good. Yes, Kawhi, thank you for recognizing it's very naked lunch. It's very naked lunch, but I think we went one better than Burroughs. Thank you all so much. That was so fun. Let's do it again. From placenta to cankle. I couldn't even say it. Like I was coming up to that phrase and I like froze. Oh, so fun. Thank you all. Ciao.
One better than Burroughs. I love this like first blurb in for the new issue of In the Mood. So good. Thank you so much for that, Fan. That was so fun. Our next reader for the night is Kai Capstick. Kai is a queer writer and web developer. They live in Toronto with their Basset Shepherd mix, Moira. Welcome, Kai.
There we go. Cool. I had to unmute myself real quickly there. Thank you so much, Rochelle. Thank you, In the Mood, Sana and Elle, the gang there. So nice to be here. Yeah, so my piece is an essay called R.I.P. Jigsaw. You would have loved dating apps. Prompted by the idea of being on dating apps is kind of a psychological torture, and kind of exploring that a little deeper. I'm going to just close the chat because I'm going to get distracted by things moving. There we go. Cool. I've learned to measure the hunger of my loneliness by how slowly time moves when I'm waiting for someone to text me back. Now 6 years into being mostly single, the small animal of my loneliness is an expert in the calculus of being wanted. It derives how long it should be before someone messages me back by accounting for the time of day, the day of the week, every detail they've given me, and every possible thing I could have done wrong. Its mathematics cannot be bargained with. If it says I will hear from them in 2 hours, and those hours pass without a word, it takes control of my body and begins a cycle of fixation and distraction. The moment my mind finds peace, my hand reflexively reaches for my phone. On its hungriest days, I leave my phone on the other end of my apartment. My loneliness and my phone become like the two men, Adam and Dr. Lawrence Gordon, chained to opposite corners in the original Saw. In the movie, Dr. Gordon remarks that someone must want them to know exactly what time it is because the clock on the wall is new. Like each of Jigsaw's games, this one includes a deadline. I set similar restrictions when using dating apps because they only appeal to me when I am at my loneliest. When the growing need is its deepest, I re-download the same set of apps and swipe or tap or scroll. Too many nights with friends have been consumed by dating apps. From sneaking swipes before the drinks arrive to conversations blurred by the worry that some stranger will never message me back. Now, I allow myself no more than an hour a day, 2 if someone's cute and chatty. Notifications off, so both my attention and disappointment are intentional. This discipline, I'm convinced, will be rewarded. Tinder disagrees. According to a recently updated press release, restricting my use negatively impacts what they call my quote-unquote match potential, the probability that my profile will be presented to other users. Tinder prioritizes members who are active and active at the same time. They want users to strike up conversations the moment they match. Theirs is a romance of immediacy, a digital approximation of flirting with a stranger in the middle of a party. In the same press release, Tinder explains they don't ask a lot of their members up front. They rely on members using the app to learn about them. They account for things like what we write in our bios, how often our profile is liked and noped, and the characteristics of our photos, all in comparison to the members in our proximity. Jigsaw, assumedly, performs a similar calculus when selecting his victims. Since his games force their players to face death in order to better value their lives, the selected individuals must have a demonstrated history of undervaluing their lives, as well as the potential to change. In the case of Paul, a man whose game involved a maze of barbed wire, Jigsaw chastised him for performing an act of self-harm despite being, quote, a perfectly healthy, sane, middle-class male. In order for my dating profile to be seen by potential matches, I first need to be understood by the algorithm. So I create a profile modeled on the language and kinds of images I've responded to from others. Yet I never know how to answer the question of what I'm looking for. In practice, it's not a question of want, but a question of time. One person can never dictate how long something lasts, only how much time they're willing to dedicate and how deeply they're willing to care. Although it's impossible to measure, I've experienced love as something oversized, something I could never fill on my own. Over time, I've learned to stuff everything available, time, money, attention, inside of it like balloons up a t-shirt that were destined to either slip free or deflate. Every time a friend or acquaintance finds quote unquote success on one of the apps, I feel my hand reaching to re-download. Sometimes I give in, convinced that this time will be better. During those periods, every match, every conversation, and every date feels like a reward for using the app. I need to believe that the app wants to reward me in the same way Jigsaw believes a renewed sense of the value of their life is a reward for his potential victims. In the case of Amanda, the only survivor we meet in Saw, it works. When interrogated by detectives, she claims that escaping Jigsaw's reverse bear trap saved her life by helping her get sober. In less violent ways, I've known this impulse. Meeting someone I could love makes me reevaluate the fullness of my life, and while inside that feeling, I would do almost anything to create it for someone else. This is the promise of dating apps like Tinder. If I use them, they'll bring me together with the people with the greatest potential for that feeling. Yet, the more years I've spent on and off dating apps, the more each re-entry feels like waking up in that room from Saw. Everything feels abandoned, but the clock is new. Every action has a deadline, and someone is keeping track of how long it takes for one of us to say hello, the minutes between our exchanges, and how many messages pass before one of us asks the other to meet. But what if we fail? What if we don't connect in any of the ways I've known two people to be wrong for each other? For Jigsaw, failure means death. But Tinder's press release never acknowledges if our potential can approach zero. All I know is that I found myself in dating app purgatory, where my success dwindles, and with every unsuccessful swipe, I become more convinced that I am the problem. In those moments, my loneliness at its hungriest, romantic disappointment as close to grief as it's ever been, I wonder if the only way to escape is to sacrifice some part of myself. Like Dr. Lawrence Gordon, am I willing to cut off my foot in exchange for freedom? On occasion, and in smaller, less gruesome ways, I denied parts of myself in order to leave the apps with a new romantic interest. Afterwards, I would struggle to escape the feeling that every action was being tracked, that every exchange had a deadline, that every failure to meet my full romantic potential would be punished. Maybe the obstacle is not my loneliness, but the deadlines it inherits. With his 6 o'clock time limit, Dr. Gordon might have found a way to escape with his foot. Yet his deadline, like the immediacy of dating apps, was invented to breed desperation. Without the limits, I wonder if I could tame my loneliness gradually, similar to the way you crate train a puppy. This ability to love and be loved in a way that is slow and deliberate is also a kind of potential. That's it. Thank you.
Is it intermission time?
It sure is. I think it's time for some trivia. Whoever is interested in winning a cool prize and talking about horror movies. Pass it over to Gabrielle to introduce.
Sorry, I did not know I was introducing trivia. So here we go. So we're going to have some trivia run by Ethan Bestby, and the prizes for the winner of the game, you will get a curated film recommendation. So you'll pick a mood and we will write a recommendation and it'll be added to the recommendation generator. You'll also get Peach Magazine's latest mix, an anthology edited by Hazel Avery. So I'm going to invite Ethan to come and do the trivia. He'll be asking multiple choice questions. If you know the answer, put it in the chat. If you don't know the answer, but you want to guess, put it in the chat. Welcome, Ethan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So should we get the trivia started?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just share my screen. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to start with a clip. Everyone pay attention. Sorry, I'm just going to pause it to say there's nudity, so be prepared. Okay, so we saw the clip. Now, the question is, which sequel in the Howling franchise features these end credits? Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Howling 3, Marsupials. Howling 4, The Original Nightmare. Howling 5, The Rebirth. Or Howling 6, The Freaks, or the Howling 7, New Moon Rising. So I'm going to give everyone a good 10 seconds to put their answers in the chat. The answer is, oh, sorry, there's also the Howling Reborn. I forgot to put, but that's not the answer. So you're okay. The answer is Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Also known as Howling 2 Wolf Bitch. I don't know about that title, but if you answered that, it still counts. So next question. So which of the following late 80s horror films does not feature Twin Peaks star Dana Ashbrook? Is it Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Girlfriend from Hell, Waxwork, or Night of the Demons? Again, 10 seconds. Okay, so the answer is Night of the Demons. Okay, so on to the next question. So in 2017, the Tom Cruise starring flop The Mummy was supposed to launch a new series of films, kind of akin to the Marvel cinematic thing, which would reboot the Universal monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man. What was this new series, this failed series, supposed to be called? The Dark Universe, The Dark Carnival, Terror Town, The Monster Mash. 10 seconds. The answer is The Dark Universe. There is an actual Dark Universe logo, I should specify. Okay, on to the next question. And we have a clip for this too. So pay strict attention. Okay, so we'll move on. So sorry. This is a clip from Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, my question is, again, for this film called Jason Takes Manhattan, which city was it actually shot in? Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, or Los Angeles? The answer is, you guessed it, Vancouver, as usual. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to the next one. So which of these franchises, these horror franchises, every single entry directed by a female director? Is it Slumber Party Massacre, From Dusk Till Dawn, Children of the Corn, or The Prophecy? Again, 10 seconds. And the answer is Slumber Party Massacre. Okay, so I guess we'll move on. Hope everyone's enjoying this. So this question is, which of the following Japanese horror films was not remade in America? Was it Dark Waters, Pulse, One Missed Call, or Suicide Club? The answer is Suicide Club. Okay, on to the next one. So acclaimed cinematographer turned director Ernest Dickerson collaborated with hip hop star Snoop Dogg for which 2001 horror film? Tales from the Hood, Bones, The People Under the Stairs, or Blade? The answer is Bones. Okay, we're in the home stretch here. Hope you're enjoying this. Okay, so New Line Cinema, you know, the studio that was known for putting out Lord of the Rings trilogy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they were often deemed the house that blank built. Was it Freddy, the Leprechaun, Leatherface, or the Critters? I like seeing our cat in Gabrielle's window right now. The answer is Freddie, of course, the house that Freddie built. Okay, so this is the second to last question. So what was generally considered the movie to kick off the PG the PG-13 horror trend of the noughts? Again, the noughts being also referred to as the 2000s. Was it The Ring, The Others, Cursed, or The Messengers? The answer is The Ring, but I looked this up and The Others made $200 million worldwide, so I think it can be kind of considered. So if you said The Others, I think you should maybe get a half point. Now on to the final question, and this one has a clip. So again, pay attention to this clip.
Was it worth it? What do you like? Beg for your life. Help me! Pray for your soul. But whatever you do, ready to play?
Okay. So which film did we just see an excerpt from the trailer of? Was it Warlock, White Noise, Wolf, or Wishmaster? So 10, 9, 8. The answer? Wishmaster. Okay, so that was our last question. I hope you all enjoyed that. That was very fun, and truly everyone's a winner.
Ethan, that was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to take some time and tally up all of the correct answers, and we'll announce at the end of the reading who the winner is. So on to then our next reader of the night.
Okay, I was just so excited by trivia. I just have to get myself back together. Okay, so our next reader, also an OG in the mood contributor, Vannessa. Vannessa Barnier is a Toronto-based poet, collaborator, instigator, and community organizer. Vannessa facilitates writing workshops, hosts the open mic series Legible Intelligibles, and is the author of Sample Platter with Gap Riot Press. So Vannessa has contributed poetry, essays, and fiction, and a spec script, which is one of my favorite pieces about Shark Tank from, I believe, our first issue. So we love a multi-genre contributor. So welcome, Vannessa.
Thank you. I love this magazine so much. And also working with you two is always just so great. So thank you for inviting me to read at this. I'm very excited to read possibly the longest thing I've ever read out loud. So anyway, it's called Erasing the Presence of Absence by Vannessa Barnier. I'd been with her long enough that being without her was a problem. Thought often about how the opposite of divorce isn't marriage, it's wedding. The opposite of marriage is the presence of the absence, a haunting with a negative connotation. Wished often for a way to erase it, but the options were few and impermanent. Instead, I opted for the round-robin method of uncoupling and replacing. It takes some ability to live in the present, and I wouldn't say that I was at my peak performance at that time. I felt forced into the small moments, frequently and without consent, like taking her and her family dog to the vet, a dog I had never yet met, who licked my finger when I offered it and looked me in the eye, and I could tell was thinking, "You make her cry." What was fair was that it was true, and I wasn't doing a lot to change anyone's opinions. She'd suffered enough experiences by this point and loosened her grip. Not that I needed an explanation, but playing the tape back was out of my control. If only there was a way to really never think about that again. The whole thing, I mean. The love and what happened during. I was too plump with ideas, encumbered by thinking too often and thoroughly. The only way of slowing the thoughts was with interference, replacing thinking with various distractions. Men in Black was tonight's replacement, as movies often were. I always found that I watched the right movies at the right time, by accident, coincidentally relevant. Sometimes I knew this by the opening scene. In this case, Agent K takes out a neuralizer, erasing the memory of a cop who had seen too much of the wrong thing. That's how I felt after this relationship. I wanted a reprieve like this, a lightening of the load in my skull, to remove what I was desperate to replace. It was genius, something I'd only considered in a less concrete way, wanting the pain to disappear, to have not happened, or have some other sort of removal. This presented a new avenue of reprieve, the work of a device, a sort of advantageous brain damage. It was a way of controlling the narrative, and that's what I was interested in most in this situation. Peri and post-film viewing, I became fixated on the neuralizer, knew this was the answer, and began my research into some kind of real-life equivalent. Of course, I found nothing, despite being relentless. Another example of my inadequacies, exemplified by coming up empty-handed with most things. Aside from the neuralizer, something in particular stuck in my mind. After taking a liking to Jay, Agent K invites him to be a member of the Men in Black, giving him time to consider giving up his life and identity to serve as an agent. Jay asks if it's worth it, and Agent K answers with a challenge. Oh yeah, it's worth it, if you're strong enough. Mouth agape, I wondered if I was strong enough. I'd like to think so. Would others think so? I have been seen as weak. That's why I'm divorced now, among other things. At least I was hot. Tommy Lee Jones has never been hot, not even in youth. Not that it's a competition, but I could use a win. 7 years later, in the middle of March, I found myself in a theater in the third row from the top. Another replacement, but for a myriad of wounds given all the time that had passed. This replacement was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and I was here alone. I had, at this time, moved on with my life and mostly into my career. Dateless, neuralizerless, full of memories. There are a lot of things to live with and without, but at least the cinema was forever. The parallels at first struck something inside of me, but I didn't quite realize right away. Both films open with traveling down the streets at night, headlight lit, liquids, bug guts and tears, relatable. Through to power dynamics, goals, personal trajectories, the only difference was wardrobe. Eternal Sunshine was exactly the same movie as Men in Black. I couldn't believe someone had so blatantly taken so liberally from another film without so much as a wink of acknowledgement. I left the theater and went back home to rewatch Men in Black, incensed and determined, looking for something you expect to find affects the experience, but this relation was objective. Despite knowing already what was to come, perhaps softened by the first of my double feature, I cried like I knew I would. When Agent K returns to his wife, who he had been monitoring, keeping tabs on despite leaving, erasing not memories so explicitly, but gently exfoliating them away with the sands of time. When Kay returns to his wife, with amnesia, but into open arms, I wish for the same. Eternal Sunshine didn't give this to me. It gave me 2 mirrors on opposite walls of a hallway, asking the other what would come next, with resentment and confusion. Also, with age, I noted the agency of the lovers, of their losses, struck deeply by the lovers who don't have agency, Kay's wife abandoned, Joel abandoned, but retaliatory, both left out of the decision. I didn't fit so clearly into any of the characters, but as a constellation of fragments, which isn't a problem, but more so a gift of knowing that I exist. I sat furious through the credits, knowing exactly what action I'd take next. It wasn't hard to find where Charlie Kaufman lived. I found a fan website where someone had already written a fanfic about wanting to kill him, and they posted his address in case someone wanted to really do something about it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that something, but I did want to do something. I felt normal as I walked up to the front door and rang the doorbell. Charlie came to the door and looked confused. "Hello," he said, like I knew he would. "Hi, Charlie, could I have a moment of your time?" He hesitated, but then said, "I'm just about to sit down for lunch. You can join me." I followed him out to the backyard where he had a table full of sandwiches. He motioned for me to sit and have some, so I did. I just had a divorce. "Do you mean went through?" I could tell Charlie wasn't being condescending. Yeah, that's what I mean. I went through a divorce recently. I'm sorry to hear that. I hear they're difficult. Thank you. It was a difficult time, but I found comfort in films. In fact, Men in Black came out shortly after my divorce was finalized. He was mid-bite of one of the sandwiches as I said this, and I noticed his jaw stutter before continuing on. It was a subtle reaction, but I could tell he was nervous. I was in a lot of pain at the time, I continued, and all I could think about was wishing I could remove what was causing me pain, specifically my memories of her. Then I watched Men in Black, and in that opening scene, they used the neuralizer. Charlie was looking at the new sandwich in his hand, trying to decide which edge would be the best spot to bite first. Have you seen Men in Black, Charlie? He had taken his bite and was chewing arduously, enthusiastically putting up his index finger to tell me I had to wait. It was taking him quite a long time to finish chewing, presumably because he was buying himself time. I was in no rush, so I let him chew this first bite for 7 minutes straight. Finally, he swallowed and then turned to me. Yes, I have seen Men in Black. It was very good. I always thought it would be fun to go by Agent C. Did you have the neuralizer process in mind when you wrote Eternal Sunshine? I asked, prepared to wait another 7 minutes. He took a bite of his sandwich and began the chewing process, which did in fact take him another 7 minutes and an additional minute this time to prove to me that he wasn't counting to 7 and that there wasn't a pattern. I could see that, much like the two movies, Charlie was doing this his own controlling of the narrative. Well, he started, putting down the rest of his sandwich and brushing the crumbs off his hands with his other hands. Who let me write that? Okay, anyway, he took another breath, which I thought would be for the continuation of the thought, but instead, Charlie made a run for it. He hopped the fence and started down the road. I finally caught up to him, grabbing him from behind and pulling him by his shirt backwards to the ground. He fell back and knocked his head against the pavement. I turned and saw a seam begin to emerge where there were two staples I hadn't noticed before, and I thought I'd see blood, but there was just an ear loosening. I got down on my knees saying, Charlie, Charlie, did I kill you? To which he didn't respond. As I got closer to his face, I watched as his eyelids flickered and touched a finger to the seam of his ear. His skin was rubbery, loose, and I felt scared, cold. The ear suddenly shot out and his face opened like a door. I saw then something reminiscent of a film, something horrific. A tiny, exhausted alien in a chair looking up at me from a captain's seat, screeching. The end. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Vannessa. I love that piece so much. R.I.P. Charlie, but you plagiarized. That's what you get for that. So thank you so much for that. Up next, really excited to introduce Emmalea Russo, who also is a multi-contributor to In the Mood. You can check out her piece on clowns in, I think, 2 issues ago. And she also has a beautiful poem on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in our current issue that she's going to read from today. Emmalea Russo's poems and writings on film and visual art have appeared in many venues, including Art Forum, Bomb, and Granta. She's the author of G at Future Poem, Wave Archive at Book Hug, and Confetti from Hyperradian.
Thanks, Senna. This reading is way more fun than most readings. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm a big fan of In the Mood. So this book, Confetti, that was mentioned in my bio, largely deals with film, and it just came out last month, and In the Mood was kind enough to reprint a poem from this book called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the horror issue. And there's like a real kind of, I guess, horror-ish or grotesqueness running through this book. And the horror component, I guess, has to do with the violence and beauty of a certain kind of light. And like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre deals with light in like the most poetic way ever. I mean, it's clearly the most poetic movie ever made. So I'm gonna just read 3 poems. I'll read the Texas Chainsaw one and then 2 like sister poems. But I'm gonna share my screen actually to show some Texas Chainsaw images. Can you guys see this? Okay, I'm doing the millennial pause. Yeah, some people have heard of it. Also, I just have to say I'm really coveting there seems to be like a body double poster behind you, Gabrielle.
Yeah, that is one of my boyfriend's decor items that made it up to the wall.
Oh, I'd like to get one. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna like kind of go through these slides, or hopefully I'll remember to as I read. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The day drags, a hue discharged. Meet orange stretched square, on-screen guy, you also. Light shoots nauseous into us. Rubbing out by conjoining, meat and moon, moon and men, screen, dew shimmer, dew, unto this pause what rots. Throw a line all the way out, stop. Viscosities canceled shine. Flashlight sucked branches. What got stuffed into those minutes? Emitted in light's diurnal oil, placed in steel container paste-like, transgressing the horizon, night's acutest angle slips, tube-shaped, fucking headlights, which are two moons, which is one. Light's indifference shows Sally through the woods and reveals to Leatherface her position. Extract from this the fluid in which the globe bobs. Lit spit, back down, your face. Esophageal wow. A day, a drag like smoke pushing past mine into your unrisen sun's camera drug. Flesh lamp glisten, meat glisten, pickup glisten. So that was that. Is everyone like doing okay? A preface to transgression. Flash, high-pitched moan, flash. What's the matter? Scorched tooth. Eye is delineator. Sunlight dismembers lunar surface by crossing wire. Semi-holy rapture, which mystics outpour. Lost in the space between hammer and airgun. Flash delivers density to the night it lights. Language gets discovered, banged, upturned butter. What about the others? Your voice thins, then clusters. And I'll end with some Leatherface action, but also love poem. Love. I fling myself down the stairs toward you and night's Andromeda candy at Wallpaper's Kill Point. Gas station parking lot under yellow neon sign, draining worm cloud as the ground thaws when light eats the frond of the war god on a Saturday to undo what's been done. Iridescent cloud, chipped gold tint, weather breaks in. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Emily. That was beautiful.
I love that. I feel like so spoiled by Zoom readings because of how we can just like do like quick Mad Libs in the chat and have like just visuals to go along with these amazing pieces. This has just been so fun. Thank you all so far who have read. I just like really love In the Mood so much, and it's really wonderful to hear all of you bring your pieces to life. We're going to end with Cason, and then I know who the winner is, by the way, but I'm still going to wait until the end. And it's close. It was really close. I had to have Sana double check. Anyway, Cason Sharpe is a writer based in Toronto. His first book of short stories, Our Lady of Perpetual Realness, was published by Metatron Press in 2017, and his subsequent writing can be found in various places online and in print, which I'm going to link to in the chat. Cason, welcome.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really a pleasure. It's really a treat. I've Been writing for In the Mood for a while, and it's always such a pleasure. I wouldn't consider myself like a film person, but it's so fun to write about film, and one of the big perks is like getting to just watch movies and then write about them. Like it's a really great feeling. So I have this column and In the Mood called Cason's Casting Couch, where I talk about different movies and the casting decisions made in them. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's become this thing about trying to figure out why certain actors fit in certain roles. And so for the horror issue, I wrote about House of Wax, which I had never seen before, even though I consider myself a big Paris Hilton stan. So I was happy I got to see it. So this is House of Wax. The first face we see in 2005's House of Wax is an empty plaster cast. The second face we see is Paris Hilton. The teen horror flick marks the heiress's silver screen debut, lest we count a few walk-on cameos or the infamous sex tape that leaked the year prior. On set, she was often interrupted by swarming paparazzi or eager fans hoping for an autograph. In anticipation of its premiere, the movie launched a publicity campaign featuring the slogan, "See Paris Die," a cheeky stunt exemplifying the kind of casual misogyny that defined the mid-aughts. To the joke's credit, its punchline seemed unfazed, almost as though she knew she was the only notable presence in an otherwise unremarkable slasher. When asked if she had been typecast as the movie's clueless bimbo, Paris replied, "I'm just happy to be a beautiful scream queen running around in lingerie." Her reaction to watching her head impaled on screen by a rusty metal pipe. "I cheered," she said. "It was dope." Directed by John Sarah, House of Wax is loosely based on a 1953 film of the same name, starring Vincent Price as a murderous sculptor who builds his own Madame Tussauds by casting the bodies of his victims in wax. This earlier iteration is based on an even earlier iteration from 1933, which in turn is based on a short story by Charles S. Belden. Sarah's House of Wax, which bears resemblance to its predecessors in name only, stars Alicia Cuthbert, Chad Michael Murray, Jared Padalecki, and the aforementioned Paris as a group of teens stranded in the woods after their car breaks down on the way to a football game. Their search for a replacement fan belt leads them to Ambrose, a rural ghost town known for its wax museum, where the teens encounter a pair of bloodthirsty brothers hell-bent on repopulating the once vibrant community with the wax-coated carcasses of their murdered prey. Formulaic and overly expository, House of Wax replaces genuine suspense with cliche dialogue, cartoonish gore, and jump scares too predictable to inspire true terror, making it the perfect horror movie for skittish little babies like me. A movie set in a wax museum and featuring the world's most famous socialite lends itself pretty well to an exploration of fame and authenticity. Instead, House of Wax ignores these obvious themes in favor of an unclear thesis concerning good, evil, and the nature of siblinghood. The movie is rife with sets of twins. Alicia Cuthbert stars as the well-behaved sister to Chad Michael Murray's delinquent twin brother. The movie's bloodthirsty murderers, both played by Cougar Town's Brian Van Holt, which is like who watched Cougar Town, are conjoined twins separated at birth in a procedure that left one twin permanently disfigured and marked as an outcast. Even the movie's writers, Chad and Carrie Hayes, are twins. What are we to make of all these pairs? Apparently nothing. There's some vague messaging about good eggs, bad apples, and the redemption of black sheep, but the most coherent idea House of Wax manages to communicate is that some people are nice, some people are mean, and some people are twins. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane plays on a loop in the abandoned Ambrose cinema, another opportunity to signal the horrors of celebrity that instead becomes part of a heavy-handed parable about being nice to your sibling. Where plot fails, casting delivers. No one boasts a good performance, but to observe this particular slate of mid-2000s personalities in relation to one another is the only thing that makes House of Wax worth watching. Take, for example, Chad Michael Murray and Jared Padalecki, the movie's male leads. Murray, blue-eyed and button-nosed, plays a soft-spoken, emotionally wounded troublemaker similar to the character that brought him fame on the teen soap opera One Tree Hill. Padalecki, dark hair and dark eyes, plays Cuthbert's sensible and straight-laced boyfriend, a role similar to the one that he plays in Gilmore Girls. Here are two sides of the same all-American fantasy, a boy from the wrong side of the tracks and another you can bring home to mom. The two archetypes vie for Cuthbert's attention, creating an erotic triangulation that goes from banal to uncomfortable when you remember that one of the archetypes is supposed to be Cuthbert's brother. Like their male counterparts, the female leads in House of Wax are placed in opposition. Getting her start as the host of educational after-school program Popular Mechanics for Kids, Alicia Cuthbert parlayed her early success into a career defined by the elasticity of her wholesome image. Her breakout role in The Girl Next Door, for example, saw her bend this persona into a flirtatious former porn star, while in House of Wax, she reverts to the comforting picture of bright-eyed moral certitude I recognized from childhood. Who better to play Cuthbert's freewheeling friend and foil than Paris Hilton, whose appearances across reality TV and amateur pornography had recently cemented her as America's preeminently loose party girl. Interrupted halfway through a striptease, Paris's character meets a gruesome, untimely end, while Cuthbert survives as the virtuous final girl. The opposite seems to hold true in terms of their careers. The inoffensive Cuthbert, poised to become a Hollywood starlet, never quite transcended B-list obscurity. Paris, on the other hand, permanently occupies a space in the popular imagination despite the collective vitriol she shouldered, or maybe even because of it. I've raised House of Wax as a topic of conversation among a number of friends, and barely anyone has mentioned Alicia Cuthbert. What inevitably comes up is Paris Hilton and what it was like to see her die. Thank you.
Incredible. Cason, I'm always saying that some people are nice, some people are mean, and some people are twins. Like, it's so true. Okay, fucking amazing. Thank you all. Thank you to our readers. Thank you so much, In the Mood. We have winners. It was so close though. So I'm gonna announce who came in second and third. Can I get like a drum roll of like Chelsea Minnis ellipses going in the chat? In third place is, okay, great, excellent. In third place is Nikki. In second place is Vannessa, our reader. Like, congrats, kudos. There's only one winner though, in terms of like, you know, the prize. In first place for the custom film recommendation and Peach Mag's latest mix is Marcus. Hey! Okay, now can I get a bunch of A's going in the chat? Or woos, we got woo girls too. Woo girl representation matters. Marcus, please, I'm gonna drop Peach Mag's email here. Please send me your shipping address. We've got some sign-off stuff. We got more spiel. Both Peach Mag and In the Mood are open for submissions right now. Battle of the submissions, like who's gonna get your work. Okay, In the Mood submissions, and editors chime in if I get any of this wrong, obviously. It's gonna be the 6th issue. Submissions are open until November 1st. Please pitch to them any pop culture writing in the form of film diaries, short personal essays, conversations, poetry, fan fiction, the kind of stuff that you saw tonight. If that was your thing, In the Mood is your thing. There's no theme for this upcoming issue, so please surprise them. They just like to focus on post 1970s media. As always, browse past issues for more info or examples of work. I'm going to drop in the chat the link to their submission stuff. Okay. That's in the mood stuff. Sana, Gabrielle K, did I get all that right? All right, sweet. Peach Mag, we're open for submissions too until the end of October. We're looking for poems, creative essays, short stories, and visual art. Our guest prose editor for this period is Matthew Bookin. And as always, but I guess it's worth just mentioning, we welcome work that has been withdrawn from its original publication, or if the publication has gone defunct, in that case, just for online only magazines. So please consider us as well. And that's our stuff. Those are the spiels. Thank you all again for coming tonight, for reading, for hanging out in the chat. I love this series. It's so cool to be able to hang out with all of you guys online. Thanks, Zoom. Thanks again to our sponsors for the night, Art Services, Inc., the New York State Council for the Arts, and Just Buffalo Literary Center. We really appreciate your partnerships and being able to provide the necessary resources to make this kind of stuff happen, because as y'all know, we are volunteer run and we're independent, and that means that we are always thinking about resources. I'm gonna hit end recording so I can breathe a little bit and swear a little bit more. So let's do that. Thank you all again for coming out. That's my official end of the sign off.